Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We would like to start by thanking Enduro for their ongoing support in bringing you our weekly live Q&As.
Today, this evening, we're fortunate enough to be speaking to Adam James from Jindy Kelpies, who will be picking who he thinks has the best question, and they'll win their bag of Enduro dog food.
Hey, Adam, how are you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, guys.
Good. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from and what you do.
So I'm originally from Victoria. Didn't grow up on a farm. Lived in a rural area, and then wanted to get into ag and wasn't sure how to do it. So I went to uni and studied, and then got a farmhand job up here at Kangaroo Mountain. And then, lucky enough, after 18 months, I got put up to manager, and that's where I've been the last probably nearly 5.5 years.
Yeah, right, Ed. So not growing up, on a farm, where'd your passion for livestock come from?
Look, it does test my memory, but I'm pretty sure when I was about 8 or 9, we had a pet Kelpie, and Dad will probably prove me wrong, but I think he just wanted to see what our Kelpie would do on sheep, and then it snowballed, and he went to schools and clinics, and then I tagged along, and then I think I was 14, I got my first Kelpie. Just wanted to work her all the time and train her and get better, and then eventually wanted to get a job where I got paid, to work my dogs.
Beautiful. So how do you use your dogs in your day-to-day life?
Pretty much every way. So I'm the only stocky here. So we run things about 5,000 ewes and 900 cattle, and I do all the stock work. So they do everything: mustering, drafting, processing, everything. So all just me and the dogs. So it's you just couldn't do it without them. They just did a lot.
See on your videos out there that you do a lot on your side by side and that, but also a few there we've done stuff on horseback. You still do a bit with your horse?
No, not really. It's changed. When I first came here, we did. There'd be a couple of us go out with dogs and horses, but now not really. Their paddocks are a lot smaller. As the farm's developed and progressed, I think in the last 2 years, we're still going now actually, but in the last 2 years we put up about 10 or 12 Ks of fencing just to try and, chop those paddocks up and make them a bit more manageable. So some of them, there's probably 2 or 3 that are around the 350 to 400 hectare mark, and it's pretty rough and quite inaccessible by bike. But if you've got dogs, you can cast them a fair way blind, and you can get away without it. Nowadays horses just take so much longer, particularly here. It's 7,000 acres, but the very front corners where the house and all the yards are, and then all the rough stuff's out the back. So you literally got to walk a horse all the way through the property just to get to where you're going and then do your job. You can't float anything through the property. So it's just, if you had 3 or 4 people here, you probably would use horses, but by myself, it's just not. I've got enough to do.
You find that when you put all the fences up, it changed did your dogs have to adjust to working the paddocks differently from having such bigger paddocks coming back down to smaller paddocks?
Nah, not really, because it's just they're still fairly well for down here. They're still fairly big paddocks, and so you're not just running a fence line. You're sort of just driving through the whole lot and even walking through the whole lot. So it's just they don't know where the fences are. It's just a paddock to them still.
So has the type of dog changed from what you had before all the fencing?
Nah, like I said, we still got quite a few rough paddocks. So I still need those sort of bigger casting, more searching type dogs. But no, they're still challenging. They're just smaller.
Tell us a bit about your team that you have there, mate.
I don't know if I want to. They're a lot. I don't have the depth that I had probably 3 or 4 years ago. I'm running only five work dogs now, That's pretty. I feel that's pretty slim pickings for here. It's sort of need a minimum of 6, and then you sort of have 2 or 3 coming through. But yeah, I've got 5, and that's it. And one's out now with pups, so it's been 4, and they've really copped it. But I've got sort of two pretty experienced dogs in Moss and Scout. But yeah, and then there's Chuck. He's experienced, but he sort of floats around a bit. And then there's Groot, who's sort of 2.5, and he's done most of my work this year, and he's probably going to be my new number 1. Well, he is now. He's done majority of the work out of all of them. And then there's Abby, who's been out with pups, so she missed all of calf marking, most of lamb marking. So I'll be itching to get her back.
So, what style of dog do you prefer?
I've got all sorts really, but I do like dogs that stand upright and that are pretty free moving. I like a little bit of eye, but not too much. I like them, to be pretty chilled. If sheep are walking past and they're just off loose around the house, I don't want them to even look at the sheep really, just to be, pretty casual, low intensity, and that's just a nice dog to have around.
To anyone that, for any of our viewers that may not understand, when you say upright, do you want to explain why you like a dog that stands upright?
It's just a preference. I just don't like them sort of lying down on their belly too much. But I've got like Moss lies down all the time. He holds his head below his shoulders, but he can get away with it. Personal preference. I just like them to hold their head higher and stand upright and just sort of show the sheep or the stock their full size.
You find that the stock move off them a bit more if they're holding themselves more proud?
Yeah, and usually, not always, but usually it means they're a bit less intense and have a bit less eye, which is what I like. So it sort of just goes hand in hand with the other things that I like too.
So, have you changed what you like in a dog from where you first started? Or the same sort of qualities still there?
Same stuff still there. Like, I just look for a good dog. So I break a dog down into sort of 3 areas. Their ability on cattle, their yard ability, and their mustering ability. And as long as they can, if they're elite in one of those areas, and then they can, pretty handy enough to get the job done in the other 2, well, then that's good enough for me. So no, not really. And when I started, I just needed a team. I came up here with 2 dogs, or 2 trained dogs, Buster and a bitch I had called Liz, and then a couple of young dogs, like Moss was a little pup. I think Scout was, I don't know what Scout was, 6 months or something like that. So I just needed a team. Like 2 dogs was nowhere near enough, so I just bought a kid and trained a lot of pups and just had to keep them, had to build a team. There's a lot of people that sort of pretty hard on picking dogs, but you've got to have a team before you can start changing things around, I think.
And you mentioned about breeding your own pups there. Are you starting to see those qualities in the pups you're breeding now? You would have seen them in the dogs you're bringing in, but now that you have a few of your own pups.
Yeah, sort of, but I don't do a ton of breeding really. Like, I've got 1 bitch at the moment, but yeah, look, well, at the moment in my main team, 2 of the dogs I bred, so 2 of the 5 what I bred, and then there was Jodie that died a couple of months ago. She was one I bred as well. So yeah, I'm breeding something that I like, so I'll keep doing it.
That's the main thing, right? You got to like them.
Well, yeah, like everyone works differently and has different types of stock and different types of dogs, and it's just what suits you.
100%.
Is there anything you'd like to see more so in your line? Traits?
Yeah. So basically, I just look at my dogs as a team of dogs. I look at them individually too, but I look at where my team's strong and where they're weak. And, some people may know, like I lost Ace and Jody a couple months ago, and they were my main cattle dogs. So they were a lot more higher intensity dogs too. So my team now is fairly soft-natured and probably don't have that grunt. So I'm looking to add a bit more aggression in my team now, just because I lost that. But yeah, like I said, as long as the dogs can fill roles and I break the work down to those three elements, the cattle, yard, and paddock. And, I lost a big part of my cattle element from those two dogs. So that's what I'm looking for now.
And you mentioned there before about seeing the traits that you like. Like when you do pick a pup fish, whether it's a pup you breed or one that you get in, what are you looking for in that particular pup? Is it just to fill that gap at that time for traits, or is it something that you're seeing it for later on, or?
So like now, for instance, if I was looking to breed again, I'd be looking to find a more sort of aggressive dog as a sire, to try and breed that replacement. And same if I was buying in, I'd find a litter or a breeder that had a more, that more type of dog that I was missing, as opposed to. Yeah, no, you're right. Just as opposed to picking pups out of a litter, I just pick a random one.
Yeah, right. And you haven't got a special handshake that you have to do for pup, or
no. Like I think most people have said on here, it's just luck. But I do there is a couple of things I go through, but nothing. So like at the moment, because I've got one bitch, I look for bitches, and usually there's more males than females. Is what I found. So that restricts your options straight away. Secondly, I prefer red and tans, even though most of my team's black and tans. I still prefer red and tans. So, you look for red and tan bitch, they're pretty popular, and there's not usually many in the litters. So usually I don't have a choice.
Why red and tan?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, why red and tan?
Oh, I don't know. Different. Like black and tan's the most common, so I just like red and tans. And there's that theory that they get along, similar to a white collie, that they get along with their stock slightly better, and that's how I prefer to work as opposed to a dog that intimidates stock. But like I said, Buster's my only red and tan dog here now, and he's not even working. So it's nothing against black and tans. It's just if I have a choice, I'll pick a red and tan. But the other thing too, I've been playing around with pups. It'd be interesting to see if anyone else has done this. And I've only tried it with one dog, Groot, who I bred, and he's come through to a fully experienced dog now. I took him to the vets. They, as a little pup, they picked him out straight away as having a lot lower resting heart rate than the other pups in the litter. And I don't know if that's got anything to do with stamina or not, but I mean, he's got unbelievable stamina now, and it's just, because you can't really pick any working traits, that's a physical trait you could possibly look for.
They say the same with horses. They have a longer stamina with a lower heart rate.
Yeah, but there's other things too. Like Groot's not a really intense dog, and so he doesn't burn his mind out anyway. But yeah, it's just something else you could look for, I guess. I don't know if it's true. It's like I said, it's just the one dog that I've run it through, tested it from a pup right through to a fully experienced dog. But and it could be a coincidence, but that's it seems to work with him.
I've actually never heard that before, so that's pretty interesting.
I hadn't heard of it either. That's why it could be. I could make it all up.
It sounds good, mate. Just roll with it.
It's just something that the vet just picked it out straight away, and then now he's done a fair bit of work now. I'm noticing that he's outlasting all the other dogs, and it'd just be interesting to see if whoever's got litters now, if they went and took them to the vets, picked the lower heart rate pup, and run it through for a couple of years and see what happens. I'm sure there's people that know all this and know that I'm probably, talking shit or something, but I haven't experienced it.
So who were some of the most influential dogs that you believe got you to where you are today?
Well, I mean, I haven't really been around that long, but Buster, my Thunder Buddy Buster, like he's obviously got me up and going and did a lot of work for me. Like I said, when I moved here, I just had him and another bitch, Liz, and they did a lot of work for me. But breeding wise too, Buster, like I said, I got five main work dogs now. 2 of them are his sons out of different litters, and Groot's his grandson, and Jody that died a couple months ago was his granddaughter as well. So his blood's through all my dogs at the moment, and like I said, seems to be breeding what I like, and so he's had a lot of influence on my stuff. But like I said, I haven't really been around through generations of dogs yet, so he could, his line could fade, I guess.
And was Buster just a chance purchase, or was that something that you liked the bloodline, or was there a reason that you purchased Buster to start with?
Rod Cavill bred Buster, and I just liked Rod's dogs, and I went up to him at trial one day and said, if you ever have any pups, let me know. And he did. He had a litter of pups, and so Buster there was 2 males, and Rod picked the other one, and I got Buster.
The fact he was red and tan didn't have anything to do with it, mate?
No, not at that stage.
Joe Levin is just written here in regards to the heart rate and pups. He said to check out the Scott Lithgow book.
Yeah, okay. I haven't read any books.
That's same here. I own a magazine and can't stand reading, so that's going to change for me. How do you go about starting your pups, mate?
I've changed a bit recently. Ideally, I want to have them, a sit and recall and rough sides by 6 months. Ideally, and then, trained enough to a point where they can do most jobs on their own or compete at trials by 12 months. And then I introduce them to like backing and dry cattle at 12 months. And then 18 months is sort of the cows and calves kind of thing. But look, I don't do anything special. Like I said, a sit, recall, and it hasn't happened. Trust me, I've had 12-month-old dogs that, I can't catch yet. It's just, but ideally, in an ideal world, I want it all by 6 months. And as far as on sheep, I don't have trainer sheep. I just use whatever's around. Like if I've got some dry ewes, I'll use them, or some cull ewes or something like that. Something that's close to the yards for a reason. So I just start off with whatever, just in my sheep yards, no training. It's just what I have available.
So how much training do you put into your young dogs? Or is most of it like done on the job?
Nah, not on the job. I think on the job is to build experience. So how much training do I do? It varies depending on the year, and like most people, not as much as I should be doing. Probably lately I've been trying to do it twice a week if I'm lucky. But like I train my young dogs, like I said, in a controlled environment. I think if you train them properly from the start and then give them the experience at work, you're going to have a far better product at the end. Like if you take them to work, and I've trained them on job early on too, so I've tried it. Like they still learn and they pick things up quite well, but I just, their responses to commands aren't as sharp because they've learned to sort of not ignore you, but not look for you as much, or not look for you, but they just sort of do the job at hand, and then you go do another job and they're a bit lost. Whereas at least if you have that training, you can direct them.
Got a question from Danny Kerr here. How do you know when your young dogs are ready to start trialing? Have you got steps that you put them through?
No. No, so like I said, I don't have a training set up. I know a lot of people have like a yard trial course or a 3 sheep course set up. I don't. Just when you feel they're ready, when you think they're ready, wait another 6 months is what I found. It's just as long as your dog's got some experience and some control on it, then it's probably ready for trialing. But it all depends what type of trial and, how competitive you want to be straight away. Like I said, my general rule is if I think a dog's ready to trial, I'll try and wait another 6 months, give it 6 months more work, and then I know for sure that it's ready.
What do you think the benefit of waiting is? Is that so you're not frying it under the pressure?
No, it's just so I don't look like an idiot.
Right, yeah. Fair enough.
We all think our dogs are better, like if you've got a young dog that you really like, you think he's one of the best dogs around, and then you take him to a trial and not get shown up, but you soon figure out where his flaws are. So you just, I don't know, I'll just wait that extra 6 months and just round the dog off a bit more. And experience is pretty important. And they don't embarrass you as much, or you don't embarrass yourself as much.
Cool.
So how long have you been trialing for?
No, I don't know. How do you count it? Like I said, I think I mucked around with Dad's dog when I was about 8, 9 or 10, but that was just little, trials that were just from one yard to another, basically. So I'm 28 now, so that'd be 20 years. So that sounds too long. And I got my first dog at 14, so probably first trial with her at 15. But I didn't seriously get into dogs until I got Buster, and I was 18 or 19 then. So probably 10 to 15 years.
So which one was that? I can't really say. What's your favourite form of trialling? Obviously, you do a few different types of trialling. Have you got a favourite?
I like them all, really. That's why I do a lot of them. I do like cattle trialling, but there's not that many around here. It's more north. There's some in Victoria, but more northern New South Wales and Queensland. It just depends what I feel like. I don't have a preference. Yard trials are good because you can do them in a day or 2 days. 3 sheep trials take a lot longer, so it's convenience as well as preference, really.
Yep.
So when starting out, who sort of inspired you?
Ooh, there was a couple. I reckon Norm Severs. He sort of helped me out a lot when I was young, which a lot of you guys probably wouldn't have heard of. He's down in Gippsland.
Yep.
Rod Cavill was another one. It's funny. Like when I had my first dog, she, I struggled to finish the course with her, and it was getting embarrassing, and a lot of people didn't really want to know me or didn't really want to help me, and they did. And also, I know this fella comes up a fair bit, and I know Bree talked very highly of him, but Travis Scott, he helped me a lot when I was younger too. When I was in high school, I'd go and do holiday work for Travis, and he'd let me work my dog all day long if I wanted to, and give me tips and advice and whatever else. So probably those three: Norm, Rod, and Trav.
And then how about now, mate? Are there any trials out there that you feel make you strive to be better? That you're like, I really like what they do, and that you get a drive to do a bit better.
It's not anyone that really inspires me, but there's a big push, probably the last 2 or 3 years of younger handlers, and they all want to compete against each other, and they all want to get better. So knowing there's all these good young handlers coming up, makes me and makes everyone around us sort of get better and push ourselves. So they inspire me in some aspects, but it's more that, they give me a bit of drive to get better. Because if I stop doing what I'm doing, then I'm going to fall to the bottom pretty quick.
Mate, no, you've been pretty modest there, but a bit of a successful household name around the trialling scene, especially in utility and yard dogs for several years now. Do you feel any pressure from that yourself? And if you do you use that as a tool? How do you cope with that?
No, so I used to feel the pressure pretty obviously at times. Like when I mostly just had Buster, and like I remember I came up from Victoria to compete at the Ultimate Stock Dog the first year it ran, and I didn't know many people there, and not many people knew me. And then we came through and won it. And after that, I also won a state championship that year too. So after that year, a lot of people sort of knew me, but I didn't know them. And I'd go to compete in the yard trial and look over the fence and see people come and watch Buster, and I really felt the pressure from that. And but I think once you get a few more dogs going, and like I say, I've won, Moss and Scout have both won nationals as well. So I don't feel the pressure anymore because it's, I've done it now and I can relax. And I think a lot of the pressure comes when you have one really big win with one dog, and then everyone watches you to see what else you can do. So that's how I saw it, and that's what I felt. Because no one really wants to be a one-hit wonder or get known to be lucky and win one trial.
Was happy to be a one-hit wonder.
No, he's 2 hits now.
Like 2 hits now. There you go.
But so I think it's getting over that fact from one dog that's had one good win to two dogs that have had several good wins. That's where you relieve the pressure.
So you just approach every trial like another day in the office now, like you'd be going to work.
Well, now it doesn't worry me much. And back then I wasn't working my dogs every day. I was at uni studying, and then on weekends I come home and muck around with Buster. So whereas now I'm working my dogs every day. I know every single thing that they're going to do, and I know what they can do and what they can't do. And I'm pretty confident in their ability. So I just and then bad luck happens, obviously, but that's out of my control and out of their control.
So another question here from Danny Kerr. How do you get yourself and your dogs ready for those big trials?
No. Like I said, I don't have a training set up or anything like that. I don't have trainer sheep. I just if it's a big trial, I might do. Now it depends on the dog what I do. I won't work them down or anything like that. Like I said, they're experienced dogs. They work every day. They don't need anything different. It just So like Ace, people who know him knows he's got a lot of bite. So he was one that I'd just for 5 minutes, I'd put him in a tight pen and get him doing circles in the tight pen, trying to draw that bite out of him, just to get on top of it. But I wouldn't do that with any of the other dogs. That it wasn't a problem. Same as a dog that's probably a bit tighter on their stock, and you're going to a utility, I might spend literally like 2 minutes just getting in the head a little bit, and that's it. Like, not much.
Question from Nick Foster here. Got a couple here, but do you think trialing is getting better in the years as we're evolving? Like, I suppose as the years are going on.
We hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the top end is getting, better.
Yep.
It's getting closer. Like the top, probably, if you have a field of 100 dogs, probably the top 30 are closer together than what they used to be. Like I said, there's a big push of young handlers. Like, it's pretty. You go to a trial and just the young ones. I know there's older ones too that are tough, but if Jake's there and Matt Sherwood and Ayo Doyle and Campbell and Bree and Kate and Mitch and Kate's sister Renee, and they're all pretty tough to beat. So I think that's where I see the big improvement is the people wanting to do more with their dogs and push their dogs a fair bit more. That's how we're going to get better.
And to add to that, I suppose you've been around for, like, let's say 10 years now. Nick's asked, where do you think trialing can get to in the next 10 years?
No. I don't know. I was going to talk about this later on, but in the next 10 years, I'd like there to be, like, this is probably a bit off topic, but
that's what we're here for.
I'd really like to see, and I think we have to do it in Australia. It won't happen, but I think we have to, is merge the cattle, yard, and 3 sheep associations and have one national working dog body. I think there's been a few people try and do their own separate national association and draw members from these other state associations, but it just doesn't work. There's just not enough depth in Australia in the dog industry or trialling industry to do that. But I reckon if they all merge and we have a national working dog society, it'll encourage more all-round type dogs. You still run your cattle trials and your yard trials and all that sort of stuff, but it'd be a whole working dog community. And that's where I'd like to see it get to, but it's all sorts of benefits. You'd have thousands of members, which would draw greater sponsorship, which would draw greater prize money, which would draw more entries, which would snowball the whole thing. But there's so many barriers between here and there.
What do you think some of those barriers are?
Well, I mean, I don't even know how many associations there are in Australia. You'd have 3 or 4 state cattle associations. Every state's got their own 3 sheep. Every state's got their own yard. You'd have heaps of people battling it out just to try and figure out what to do. And then we're getting a bit off topic, but you'd have to put full-time people on to run it as well. It wouldn't be a volunteer thing. But yeah, in the next 10 years, hopefully we can get closer to that one Australian working dog.
So you've obviously competed all across Australia. How does the trialling change from state to state and stuff like that? Or does it not much really?
No, it does. It does slightly. There's obviously a lot of similar aspects as well, but I don't know. I hope I don't offend anyone here, but to me, the Western Australian sheep are very similar to the Northern New South Wales sheep in they're pretty light and pretty runny. You need a dog more to shape a mob rather than move a mob. And same thing once you get those sheep in the yards, they just sort of flow and run. You don't need a strong yard dog really. There's always exceptions to that, but that's sort of what I found. And then sort of Southern New South Wales, you need not the opposite type of dog, but a more punchier yard dog. This is yard dog trialing I'm talking about, really. Southern New South Wales usually has tighter drench races, more sheep. The sheep are usually a bit heavier as well. But I mean, yeah, that's why we have a variety of dogs, is because we have a variety of stock.
You think the sheep are heavier? Is there any particular reason you think the sheep are heavier, or identify that they are?
We probably run more composite breed, composites and Suffolks and that sort of stuff. In Southern New South Wales and Victoria, and they're just heavier and bigger than the Merinos. So obviously personal preference too, but maybe numbers. Maybe we are running larger numbers in smaller areas. I'm just guessing.
So obviously in all your travels, you've seen a lot of people handle a lot of different dogs. What is probably the main thing you see people or handlers struggle with, and where do you think they can improve?
I think there's I'm going to get in trouble here, but I think there's a lot of there's a lack of natural stockmen and women, I suppose. Like, people always talk about reading stock. I think the really good fellas, and there's only a handful of them, can actually just feel the stock. And that's where I think a lot of people can improve. And it is getting better, but probably also the control of a dog too. There's a lot of dogs that don't have much control, really. Well, I think, and the well-known theory is that having control means having a robot dog, and that's not true at all. But some people don't deliberately say that they just want to let their dog figure it out and let their dog control the situation, which is fine. But I think we need to, with control, we can get heaps better and do a lot more. And I think there's that, like I said, there's that big push of younger handlers that want to see what they can actually do with a dog and what their dogs are actually capable of.
Break down some of that stigma, I suppose, is what you're getting at a bit there as well. That, a trial dog's only a trial dog. Yeah,
well, I don't know. That was going around well before my time, so I can't really say where that came from.
Well, we won't put you on the spot there. What's your favourite trial to participate in?
Ooh, I've been thinking about this because it's hard to have a favourite, really. But and I hope he's watching. But Roscoe McIntosh and Marcus Campbell, they run a really good trial down at Mount Hess in Southern Vic. It's only run once, and I went to it this year, and it's just a really, really good on-farm trial. Most people were staying in the shearers' quarters, and it's just great shearing shed, a lot of history there, and great yards, and just really well looked after. Just a really good trial.
Perfect. What do you feel is your best achievement so far with dogs, or just life in general?
In dogs, there's a couple that sort of stick out, but one of there's two main ones, probably three main ones, but one of them was the cattle championship this year, winning the Australian cattle. Mostly because I just didn't expect it. I was up there for the Australian Yard Championship, and they ran the cattle at the same time, and I thought, I'll chuck some dogs in. And I didn't even really watch the cattle runs. Like I said, I was focused on the yard trial. And ended up coming through and winning it, and that was special because it was a bit of a surprise and a shock. I remember I walked off the cattle final. I think I was first out in the cattle final and walked off there. I think I gave my mum Scout and then took Buster off my mum as well and walked into the yard final. So that's where my mind was at. But the other one, and it's before you guys, but you would have heard of it, the Ultimate Stock Dog USD. Winning the inaugural one of that was pretty special. Came up from Victoria with one dog, and like I said before, no one really knew me. I didn't really know anyone. But yeah, that was good because I didn't have a chance. I didn't really think I had a chance. I was just having a go. And then the Saturday night was sort of the first time you knew where you were sitting in sort of the order, because they run the yard, or they used to run half the yard and half the three sheep Friday and then swap it over for the Saturday. And then Sunday was the cattle. So I think Saturday night I was sitting about third and thought, I might actually be able to have a crack here. And then Mr. Cavill, the bred Buster, he was there. I asked him to come over and look at the cattle for me because I had barely worked cattle at that stage. And he talked me through it, and then we had a good enough run on the cattle and we won it. So that was pretty special.
Pretty big achievement, mate.
Yeah, well, went all that way with one dog and got the chocolates.
Happy days. But it's probably a bit more of the way you feel like if all the associations were joined as well, like, and be able to run trials like that more often would be pretty big in the industry.
Yeah. Look, look, they're good to do, but there's not many people that will do that type of trialing. I mean, there's a few, but they're pretty spread out over probably 2 or 3 states.
Yeah.
But they are like that's an all-round type dog, really. Cattle, yard, paddock. Yeah, not everyone will be willing to have a go at it, but that's you don't have to run those sort of trials if all the associations merge. You just still run your individual trials, but you could have a cattle dog of the year, yard dog of the year, whatever. Then an overall dog of the year too. And I don't know, it's something I've been thinking about, and I'm probably talking too much about it, but I just get a bit annoyed when you hear someone say they've got the best dog in Australia, and you say, oh, well, who was at the competition? And you could list off 10 names of really good handlers that weren't there because it's not their discipline, if that makes sense. Like in a yard championship and you got the likes of Mick Hudson or Robert Johnson, they're not there because they don't trial in yards. I don't know, it's just something that annoys me.
I think logistically, it's pretty expensive to be able to sort something like that out as well. So would need a lot of sponsorship and backing, from a lot of different individuals to be able to put something on and to keep it going, because it has been tried before, but I think logistically, financially, it's a pretty big burden to have.
Or something like the USD, is that what you mean?
Yeah, but regularly have something going like that.
Yeah, well, there's a couple.
To manage.
Like Geary's doing something similar, and so Aaron and Campbell down at Mansfield. But you're right, and I think it's the interest that will fade. Just there's not that many people that are willing to back their dogs out in the paddock if they mostly do yard work, or if they do cattle work, their dogs are probably a bit bitey or a bit close on sheep or whatever it may be. There's just not many people that are willing to have a crack.
Another question here from Danny Kerr. If there's one stockman or dog handler that you'd like to spend the day working with, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, I don't know. It'd have to be someone dead, because if they're alive, I can just ring them up now.
Yeah.
I don't know. This, I'm just pulling a name out here, but Charlie Robertson, he was sort of at the end of his career and dogs-wise when I was just getting into it. But he's very well known in Gippsland and Victoria as having good, strong dogs. I only got to see one dog, and I don't think it was his best dog he ever had, but and there's still dogs around now that are related to his bloodlines, so they've stood up. But he's one I'd, back in his heyday, would like to go and have a chat to and watch his dogs.
Fantastic. And is there a message you'd like to get out into the working dog or livestock community?
I think I've pretty much said it, haven't I?
Yeah.
I just think that the working dog industry is not big. It's not big enough for, what have we got? A dozen different associations in Australia, if not more. It's just it dilutes it so much, and I don't know. I think I made it clear.
That's all right. Just thought I'd try and see if there was another.
Away from dogs, do you have a hobby or talent people probably wouldn't know about?
Not really. Dogs and work is what I do, which is usually the same thing, working dogs.
Pretty dedicated there, mate.
Oh, to work. That's what pays the bills. Just dogs and work mostly.
Very cool, mate. And away from Q&As, is there anything else on Dog Talk that you think we may be able to service our community with? Look, I think everyone says this to you, but you're doing a great job so far. I think a few different things you could do would, and I'm sure you've got a long list of things you're thinking about already. But, you could coordinate a few dog schools, Dog Talk, dog schools or something with different handlers. Or I think you're in a prime position to
basically showcase Australia's dogs around the world as well. Dog Talk will grow as a media platform, and we can definitely start getting into different countries and just to get them to see our dogs and see they're actually half handy. But also, I don't know. I just think you're doing a great job with the messaging, like the forums on your page and the message you're trying to send. Like, one thing I would like to say too is that if anyone wants to learn about dogs, they can look at Dog Talk or even Facebook's probably funny as the forums on there, but you can find nearly any dog handler or trainer on Facebook and just send them a message. Like, very few are going to ever say no or not reply. I've got a few people that don't trial that send me videos and questions about dogs, and I'll either reply straight away or reply 4 or 5 days later. But yeah, that's a bit of a message, is just start messaging dog handlers on Facebook and you'll get better and they'll give you advice.
Cool, mate. We've got a question coming in here. Question from Marie McKillop. Do you enjoy doing training days? Like running your own?
I do. It depends who turns up. A bit of banter is always good. So as well, but no, it is good.
What do you take away from it personally?
It really makes me think about my training methods and what I do. And it exposes me to a lot larger variety of dogs than what I have here. Particularly, like we discussed, most handlers go and try and select a type of dog to bring in. Whereas at a dog school, you've got all sorts of dogs, and that's where you've got to become a real dog trainer and not training one particular type of dog your whole life.
No, 100%. Sorry, mate, I had a laugh then because Jake said I've got a great head for radio. Thanks, brother. We know that.
So is there anyone you'd like to see us sit down and do a Q&A with?
Oh, I said some of them earlier. I think Norm Severs, he'd be a good one. Like, he's very experienced in the three sheep world. He's done a lot of judging. He's judged the national. I don't even know his whole list of what he's done, but he's judged the national Kelpie trial at least once. He's judged several state yard trials, several state utilities, I'm sure, and I don't know, so no one get up me for this, but I'm sure he's judged state three sheep trials. Judged paddock section at the USD. He's done a lot. He'd be one to sit down and talk to. I've got a couple others too. Look, I've already mentioned him a couple of times, but Rod Cavill, I know Bree mentioned him as well, and he probably will never get him on here, but if we keep mentioning him, maybe we can squeeze him on here. Another one that's probably a bit different is Travis Ware in South Australia. I really enjoy talking to him about dogs. He hasn't, he's a bit quieter with what he says, but I quite like the train of thought he has with dogs. This fella, I don't know. You'll ask him 5 questions for the night, I reckon. He'll just keep talking and talking. But Travis Scott's one that he always has a lot to say. And, like I said, 5 questions and you'll be done for the night. He'll just keep going. But, I mean, it's just an interesting one because Bree and I have both worked for Trav at different stages, and then we've both come through with national Kelpie wins. So, it's probably worth chatting to him.
Cool. We've got a question here from Mark Mangold. Everyone says what they like in a dog. What don't you like in a dog?
A lot.
Yeah.
Look,
pick a couple of your main things.
Like, how do I explain it? Like dogs that lie down a lot, creep around like moss. I hate it. I really hate it. And dogs that don't cover, that's a real pet thing for me. If the dog can't cover, I don't want it. I don't care if it is really good on cattle or can back 100 meters. I don't care. If it can't cover, I don't want it. but yeah, there's a few other things like dogs that sort of bully sheep as well. I don't like them at all. But yeah,
Why is
there's
that?
oh well, that's just not really my personality. Like, I prefer a bit of a softer natured and just a softer handler dog, which is generally a bit more respectful of their sheep. And they let me down in certain situations, but it just doesn't fire me up as if a dog that just won't leave sheep alone. That's what really gets me going. So yeah, it's just something I can't stand.
Anything that doesn't get the heart rate up.
Yeah, well, we're all trying to stay calm, and if we're angry, it doesn't help the dog, it doesn't help the stock, and it doesn't help me.
No, totally get that, mate. So a few questions there tonight, mate. Was there one that stuck out for you?
Ooh, I actually forgot to think about that. I reckon Nick's one actually of well, they're sort of joined, aren't they? The trialing the past 10 years and the trialing the next 10 years. Sort of, yeah, that's a very interesting one. It could go a lot of places.
Well, there you go, Rooster. I've already got most of your details, mate, but I'm sure I'll hear from him by 9:36 and with all his details. So give us a call, Nick, and we'll organise that bag of dog feed for you.
I don't think the bag will make it to him, will it?
Oh, he'll get there.
Last question of the night. Would you prefer to fight one
God.
duck the size of the horse or 20 horses the size of ducks?
Well, I've talked to some friends about this, and I think it's a pretty easy answer. And I don't know why anyone hasn't said it already, but what is it? 20 horses the size of ducks, because then you can just open your dog cages and let loose. It's
So all our friends out there that train on Indian runners, probably now is the time to turn off.
Over their horses, Dan.
Love it, mate. It's something different.
I
Left
love that
field.
one.
That's different again. So there you go. Get something different every time. And I'd like to thank you very much for your time tonight, Adam, and all our viewers out there. And please remember, we learn every day, and a day we stop to learn will be a sad one for all of us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Cheers.